censorship and dreams. How dreams work. And I'm going to start it with some interesting. Yeah, today while I was driving, I was listening to the Kurgan. This guy Giuseppe Filato, who is one of the most interesting dudes online. I don't really like his stuff about religion, but everything that has nothing to do with Catholicism that he talks about is fascinating. And the guy's kind of funny. He's just like really, I don't know, enigmatic. I think the word. Yeah, that's the word. Guy's great. He's got absolute gems. But he was talking about AI, and he got into someone mentioned something about dreams to him. The guy says, kind of tangential, but do you think dreams allow us to see into the spiritual realm? And he goes into some things that have happened to him. And I've had this happen with me. And it actually clarified a bunch of stuff about dreams for me. Because I have a rule. I found like there's rules of the dream world. And I thought there were rules, but now I don't know. Just listen to this.
This is kind of tangential, but do you think dreams allow us to see into the spiritual realm? They seem so weird, and to me, a preternatural event rather than just a process of our minds. I think they can be both, and they are both. I've had premonitory dreams, and not just one or two, but I've had them where I have a dream and I tell people about it, and then it happens. So I know it's not just my idea. I know it's not just something that I imagined because I told somebody else, like, oh, I had the weirdest dream, and then it actually physically happens. And not because I tried to make it happen, because they're so disconnected from what I thought. Even the day I met my now wife was I remember the dream I had 10 years earlier. I think I've possibly discussed this, but. So there are certainly some dreams that are premonitory dreams. I think there are some dreams that are revelatory dreams. And then I think there are some dreams that are just the result of your neurons firing off things that influenced you or affected you or gave you some emotions during the day or maybe 10 years ago. I've had dreams where it's like almost like a film. I had dreams of actually, and this was before the Terminator films ever came out or even existed. I had a dream of these there would be like these robot things that replaced people. And in the dream, it was like I was trying not to fall asleep in the dream. So I was dreaming, I was asleep, but in the dream, I was trying to stay awake because what happened is if you just blinked and if you didn't have somebody physically seeing them the whole time in front of you, they'd get replaced. And then it's like you might be going along with them thinking, oh, this is my friend, and we've been fighting all these robots. And then you turn and you'd see their eyes go like and go red. And then you're like, oh, fuck, it's one of them. And they were like almost indestructible. And when I was a kid, I built this this replica of a Colt 45 handgun, which was a single action plastic handgun, and I built it as a model. It was a big thing, but in the dream, this thing was actually a real gun, and it was like a single action gun. And it was the only gun that was powerful enough to kind of make them stumble around and fuck them up a little bit, but they'd still come at you. And they were stronger than humans and whatever. You couldn't really fight them hand to hand because unless you use some kind of leverage to just throw them away from you, whatever, they could crush you and stuff. And I had this dream, and it was pretty horrible. It was very vivid, very realistic, and I had to keep running away. And it was me and this girl, and it was oh fuck, I managed to keep her and me alive, but I'm exhausted because I haven't slept in 3 days. And it's I'm just going to close my eyes. Just, if you stay awake and you watch me and then I watch you, and I close my eyes and then I open my eyes and then I look at her and just, ding, her eyes went red, and it was fuck, and I had this dream. And then that's it. It was such a vivid dream. I remembered it in quite a lot of detail. 10 years later, I have the part 2 of the dream, another film. It's a continuation of the dream, exactly where that one left off, where it's oh, yeah, she's a robot, but it's now maybe the people aren't dead, they've just been replaced. And it's and the robot is they're a bit smarter, but they're still kind of evil. But it's you can sort of reason with them, and it's part 2 of the film. It's I don't know how that works. So very interesting question, but yeah. Caleb says that's a scary thought for me. I keep having dreams of going back to the military. No, that's generally an anxiety dream. People that dream of school and they're not going to fail the exam. That's an anxiety-generated dream. I don't think those dreams they're important only in that they're informing you about something.
This is the part I was actually talking about, not the Terminator thing.
Something that you still need to deal with psychologically. For example, when I was doing Systema extensively, I used to dream about fighting and stuff, and the same with karate. And it's like, because I was obsessing, I was like working on it, and it's like I dream of fights, and it's like, oh, I can just about. And I remember I was telling my instructor, I said, oh, I had this dream that I was like, these guys came to mug me because and they stole my phone, and there was like 4 of them. And the first question, that this guy's a brilliant teacher, he goes like, did you manage to get your phone back? And I was like, yeah, I fucked them up and I got my phone back. He goes, good, now you're learning. And it's like, he knew what that meant, because until you can fuck the other guy up in the dream, then your subconscious doesn't feel confident that you would win that fight. And I had another dream, which was later, which was even more intense, because this was just like a mugging. But the other dream was like, I was looking for this serial killer, and there was actually 2 serial killers, and one was like not a big guy, but he was like red hair and really vicious, like very dangerous fighter, while the other guy was big and strong. And they're both serial killers, but it's like I was trying to find one of them because I don't know if they'd kidnapped somebody I cared about, or I can't remember. Anyway, I went into this pub, which is like a little bit underground, and there's these 2 serial killers, and then it's like, I'm like looking for them, and then I look at, and there's the red-haired guy, and he's like blocking the entrance or the exit, and it's like we look at each other and we know, we just fucking know, oh, that's him. And then I look, so he's like at the exit, and at the end of the sort of bar thing, there's another big guy who like looks at me, looks at the other guy, and I'm like, oh fuck. They're both here. They both know I'm like looking for one of them, and they're both going to try and kill me. And I quickly picked up just like a butter knife or whatever was on the counter. And it's like the big guy came at me, and it was normally when I had this kind of dream, it would be like, oh, I'm fighting for my life.
This will make sense. I know it might sound kind of boring right now, but this will make sense in a second.
And I'm barely surviving, and then I'm trying to run away, and I'm like, it would just be like an ongoing like thing that would last the whole night, and I'd wake up more tired than when I went to sleep. This one was like, oh, the big guy came at me, and this guy just cut his throat open, and then I went immediately to the little guy, but the little guy was like faster, more dangerous, and he had a knife too. And my move, instead of like fighting him knife to knife, was like, I just threw the knife down, pushed his arm out the way, and grabbed his head and smashed it against the side of the door, and just bang, 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 and like, and broke his neck. And I was like, fight done. It was like 5 seconds, and they're both out. And I woke up like, yeah, that wasn't so bad, And what it was is, this is a subconscious thing that when I was doing karate, that fight would have gone all night, and they might have killed me in the dream. It's like. It's when you get rid of the anxiety dream, it means you're over that part of your damage. Let's call it like that.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that is I wrote a comment. Actually, I've always thought there's rules to dreaming, and like I've noticed that every time I was in a dream and I would try to fight someone, like I would punch them, and then the punch would be like I hit a pillow or something. It wasn't like, it was like really soft when it actually hit the person. So I started thinking like, oh, maybe there's a rule that you can't do violence in dreams or something like that. And eventually I had a dream where the only time I've ever been able to do like anything violent in a dream was I don't know, it was a weird dream, and it was like everyone was going crazy, like the movie Kingsman, where it's like the cell phones like make everyone go crazy. They have that famous scene where the guy's in the church and he beats everyone up with Freebird playing in the background. I was in this dream where everyone started acting like this, and it's the only time I've ever been able to actually do something violent in a dream. And everyone started like acting like Kingsmen, like they start going crazy or whatever, and they're attacking everyone. And I was like hiding in the city. I was affected by it for some reason, and I decided to fight or whatever. And this guy comes with a sword. I don't know. It's a weird dream. And he comes to attack me, and I like automatically like push my stomach out to like dodge it. I guess dodge the swipe, and then I had like this thought come in my head. It was like, no, you can't be, you gotta be calm. You can't be afraid during this or something like that. So the next time the guy swung the sword, I like stepped into it and like flipped him over my shoulder, took the sword and then sliced him. And that was the only time I've ever been able to do anything violent, ever, in a dream. And I think it's because like I got into like a flow state in the dream. I don't know. And people say that like when you're in flow, you're like connected to the universe, and that's how I've always felt it in sports. Um, I've gotten it most in when I was real little. I would get it all the time when we used to play like games like Manhunt or Jailbreak, where you like run around and uh, I'll keep this playing what I'm talking about. We like Manhunt. I don't know if you've ever played Manhunt. When I was little, we used to play it all the time. We go to like the local baseball field, little league baseball field or something, and the boundary would be the entire block of the little league field. And in Manhunt, you got one team. There's two teams. One team has to capture the other team, where they say like a word after touching the person, and then they have to take them back to jail, and the jail will be like the bleachers of the little league field. And they did this like we used to play this all the time, and the word that we had to say, which I always found weird, is you have to say this phrase: 1, 2, 3, my man O'Bracey's safety lock. If you didn't say safety lock, that means they could break out of your hold when you grab them. But if you said safety lock, they weren't allowed to break out of the hold. They just had to go with you to the jail, because you had the like little like 2-3 seconds while they're saying the phrase that you can like break away, and it's not illegal. That was like the rules. I always found that fascinating, and that phrase is weird as hell. I don't know who came up with that phrase, but my favorite thing about Manhunt was named Manhunt. Uh, Whenever I was the last person, and I had the other team, all my teammates were captured in the jail. And the way you play Manhunt is if you touch the jail and say jailbreak, then everyone runs free and they have to go capture everyone all over again. And then you switch sides once you capture everyone. And I love being like the last person and having to get by everyone to free everyone. And that's like when I would feel most in flow, I guess. So most connected. And then I would feel this in sports too, like in basketball a few times. I would feel it. Hockey, I felt it all the time. And then in football, every once in a while. But anyway, that's what it felt like in that dream. Like I was in that flow state where it's not. It's like I don't know. It's a difficult thing to explain, but I think that's what Giuseppe Filato was kind of talking about. Because that's what that martial arts system actually it teaches that basically how to always be in that flow state, like how to it like remaps your neurological brain mappings to do that. Um, it's a cool scene, but another thing about dreams that I thought was interesting was flying in dreams. Like I've been able to fly a bunch of times in dreams, and almost every time I would end up like realizing that I'm flying. And after I realized I was flying, I would start falling to the ground and could no longer fly. I couldn't fly anymore once that happened. And then when I would try to fly again, I would like jump up a little bit, and then I would fall back down. It was like when I tried to fly, I couldn't fly. When I knew I was flying, or like thought about the fact that I was flying, I couldn't fly. It was only when I was in flow, connected to the universe, I guess, connected to creation, that I could fly. Like it was just a fact that I was flying. Like I didn't think about it. I didn't try. You know what I mean? that's another thing about dreams I've noticed. Uh, I've had prophetic dreams. I had one dream recently, kind of recently, like a couple years. I guess it was like last year, where speaking of Little League, it was actually right at this guy's house. He was like he lived right across the street from the Little League field. He was my Little League coach when I was like when I was 12 year old All Stars for baseball, Little League, and he was one of the coaches. And one night, like last year, I haven't seen this guy since I was 12. I am going to like a grocery store, and I hold the door open for him, and he says, "Oh, hey, hi," and I say, "Hey, Mr. Blah blah blah, how you doing?" And he walks in, and then I walk in, whatever. And the next day, the guy died. He had a heart attack. Or that night, I think he had a heart attack. Yeah, it was that night he had a heart attack. So I was like feeling that in the dream almost. Like his energy was just like the last death throw went out into the ether, like went into my dream somehow. And yeah, it was kind of like weird. Um, I've you should try writing down your dreams. It's very interesting. I did it for like a month, and then I started to figure out how the dreams actually work. And it's most of the time it's really big picture stuff, but it's like if you wanted to explain a story to someone without words, you know what I mean? Like without word symbols, how would you do it? Or without speaking to them, you'd have to show like pictures, right? Or like scenes, right? And then it would have to have meaning, like subconsciously. I don't know. Like one of them that I had was like I was in a 747, and I was like the co-pilot, but I was like a trainee. Where like the two pilots were there, but I was the trainee watching them fly or something. And they're flying, and the pilot passes out, and the co-pilot's like, "Oh, don't worry, the autopilot will pull up." And the plane starts going down. It's like pull up, pull up, pull, and then like the automated response, or whatever, starts going pull up, pull up, pull up, like beeping. And I'm like, "Are you gonna do something? What are you doing?" I say to the co-pilot, and he's like, just stares there straight, not doing anything, like he just wasn't there. And I realized, oh shit, I gotta be the one to take the pilot off and start piloting the plane. And then I barely pulled it up at the end, and right when it was about to hit the water. And the next day, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, that was obviously the things that were going on in my life. That was saying, stop effing up. This is your last chance. You got to take the wheel. You got to pilot your own. You got to pilot your body. Like we are in our thoughts with this silence, silent observer. So we got when that like that song, the song "Drive" is not about driving cars. Obviously, it's about taking control of your human vehicle body with your spirit, and that's what that dream is about. Basically, you need to take the wheel. That's what it was saying. It was like the spirit world telling me, you need to take the wheel of your life, whatever. Pull the frig up, pull up, like spiral up. But yeah, I've had tons of dreams where I'm like it didn't seem obvious at the time. Now it's definitely obvious. It's just like really big picture. Like it's trying. It's like It's like your spirit is trying to tell your conscience, or it's like the universe is trying to tell your spirit how to fix your problems, almost. But it can't. It doesn't say it with words or with symbols. You know what I mean? It shows you with pictures, like scenes that you're in. All right, so I was in a conversation with this dude from Africa on a forum, and we're talking about spiritual magic, like real quote unquote real magic, And he was saying that you gain access to the powers once you pass the gate of death. And the gate of death can be passed in real life or in the dream world. And if you think about it, how many times do people, like, you have a nightmare where you're falling off a building or something, and then you wake up? It's like and you're like, what the hell happened? Or like you get killed in a dream and then you wake up in real life, right? One time after I had this conversation with this dude, the dream was weird. I don't even want to explain it, but I was about to die, and I remembered that conversation for some reason, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to accept the death. This is what creation wants, this is what the universe wants, and I accepted the death. I only did this once, and I've died a bunch of times in dreams, right? So my death comes, I die, and then I go to a room that looked like the room in the Matrix when he loads up all his guns. And someone was standing there. It was either all white or all blue. I forget. I think it was all white. And someone was standing there, and they said, "Congratulations, you passed the gate of death," or something like that. But then they shook my hand, and then they were like, "Unfortunately, for other reasons, we can't let you pass this level yet." And then they sent me back to the dream. And I was back in the dream, like nothing, like I survived it. That's only happened to me once in dreams. And if you think about it, in the Matrix, he's guided by Morpheus, right? Morpheus is the god of dreams. And what is the first thing he does? He does the jump test. No one ever made the first jump. No one makes the first jump.
You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt,
that's the god of
disbelief.
Dreams. So this is like the dream world, right? Whoa. I'm stopping because of copyright bullshit. But it's the leap of faith. You have to accept death. That's the gate. And the African dude I was talking to, he even says that Christianity, Jesus, is the white man's way of teaching the West how to pass the gate of death. And if you go into what the hell's his name? Carlos Castaneda, his teacher, Don Juan. That guy was the best part of the whole books. But I think, yeah, it's Don Juan, right? Don Juan has Carlos get into like a swamp or something, right? I don't remember the specifics, but he gets him into a swamp where there's alligators and stuff. And he goes, "You gotta stay there. Don't move." And he said that like a few hours in, a alligator came and bumped into him. Just gave him a little tap in the back of his, like, in his back, and he had to accept it. And then he said immediately he started thinking of one time where him and his friend like tortured an alligator or something like that, and he was like sorry for that, and the alligator floated away, didn't bother. It knew because it's connected to the universe, connected to the Creator, and that was teaching him the gate of death, where you just have to accept what happens. There can't be fear.
Okie dokie. For my mind.
So what if he makes it?
No one's ever made the first jump.
I know. But what if he does?
He won't.
Come on.
Right. No problem. Free my mind. Free my mind. No problem. Right.
words, he falls to his, like, he's falling in his dream. And when you fall in a dream, you wake up after you hit the ground. If instead you accept the death as you're falling, you go into the load area of the Matrix, I think. Not the Matrix, but like, you know what I mean? Like the dream world, there's like a load area, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's all subconscious. Who knows? But that's what happened to me. And it happened only one time. That was the only time I ever accepted death in a dream. I need to do it again. But
なんと凄まじい。体より発散する闘気で虎の攻撃を封じてしまうと。ケンシロウ、虎は貴様を敵とは思わなかったようだな。貴様にはこの俺と継承者を競う資格などない証拠だ。いや、恐るべきはケンシロウ。奴の前では虎ですら死を覚悟した。だがラオウの前では虎は死を恐怖した。ラオウの剣は暗殺剣とは言えない。それにしてもなんという豪剣。お前は一体。
The other thing I wanted to talk about is, well, with the Giuseppe Filato thing, where I couldn't punch. It felt like I couldn't punch someone. I think it's because I used to think that was a rule of the dream world, but actually, it seems like I'm subconsciously not confident enough in my martial art skill, whatever. Because I never went to a martial arts gym or anything. I just taught myself kind of how to hit a heavy bag, and I like watch martial arts and shit. Like I never been to like a teacher or anything. So I guess subconsciously, that's what Dream is telling me. I have to actually train it with a proper teacher, I guess, for me to be 100% confident, for me to 100% believe that I could win the fight without even trying. You know what I mean? It's all belief, kind of. And I should have said that earlier, but whatever. The other thing I've had done to me is I had this dream. It was like one of those dreams you get after you wake up and then go back to sleep. And it was I got shown like a screen with the Xenobites. The Xenobites are the people from Hellraiser. If you've ever seen the show Hellraiser, Xenobites. And it was like this thing here, how cancer cells go. But it was like the cancer cells look like little Xenobites from Hellraiser. And the message said something like, and on each stage it said, you get stronger and you get like faster and smarter and all this shit. And I like inherently knew that was total bullshit. And it kept happening, but it would start to like happen to me. I could feel it happening to my cells. To the point I started feeling like intense dread, like really heavy dread, more than normal. And I had to like reach out, I had to like say out loud in the dream, please help me, God. And then a white light showed up, and all the cancer cells started dying, and they were about to all die, and then my alarm went off. I woke up from the dream. And I just thought it was like just a nightmare or whatever. But I listened to this. I ended up listening to this guy named Jonathan Adamkins, who still has the best videos on the internet about connecting to the creator. And he made them in like 2008. He made these videos, and he's nothing seen since.
What have I witnessed in the last year? Well, let's see. I've had human being agents turn on a microphone, hearing background noise in a room, speaking to me occasionally. I've seen them put in visual subliminal messages right into my brain. I understand the technology. There's no point in telling you right now, but that is also very, very basic. Otherwise, an EEG wouldn't work. I have had them put things that look like PowerPoints in my head. One, I remember, I woke up from sleeping and I opened my eyes, which I knew right away. See, intuition was letting me know when it happened, why it happened. It triggered my brain into beta, which that triggered the program. Once the brain goes into beta, that means he's awake, and then he won't notice it. His eyes will be open because it's very faint.
This is exactly what happened to me. I woke up, and then I went back to sleep, so I was in beta, like not in the middle between sleep, in the space between almost, in the middle between sleep and awoke. And that's when I got this what I saw. And when I think about it, it was a freaking PowerPoint slide. Straight up a PowerPoint slide, 100%. And I tried, like, that's what it was. It was like this PowerPoint slide, like that. But it was all black in the background, and it was like an arc around of it, and it had more steps. And it went like this, going this way. And it had words that said, make you better, faster, improve you, or whatever. But the cancer cells all had like points on them, and they were xenobites, like Hellraiser. Just in case. These are the weird looking dudes. These things. It was like these things. Anyway, once I heard that, I was like, that's exactly what that was. I mean, it felt exactly like a freaking PowerPoint. It got implanted in my brain. It was right after I woke up when my brain waves were in beta, and I was like in between sleep and not sleep.
Intuition had me shut my eyes real quick, and there's this, gray square with rounded corners, and it has a title that says Preconceived Core of Beliefs. I've never heard the term before, nothing, okay? This is what was and it had like 3 questions underneath it. And then it showed, if you've seen the movie The Ring, that video they all watch in The Ring was just a series of strange scenes and bizarre images and such.
Yeah, and that's mind control shit. This is going to sound kind of embarrassing, but I remember seeing, when I was younger, I don't know, it was some adult video online, and they flashed images on the screen, and one of them was, this was like 10 years ago, but I still remember it. They flashed a chicken, like a I don't know, like a chicken you buy at the store, grocery store, with its head chopped off, so it has a hole at the top, and then someone pours molten metal into the head of the chicken, and then it like freezes, like it hardens inside the chicken. I watched that. I don't remember anything else about the video, but I watched that like 12 years ago when I was still in college, and I still remember it to this day. And that's what those images do. It's like MK Ultra type shit.
It was like that for 4 minutes straight. I'm just watching it. They've tried to intimidate me by putting really bizarre thoughts in my head, scary thoughts. They can simulate my...
I think this is what... Like, have you ever gotten those thoughts? Bill Burr has a great bit about it.
So anyways, yeah, so I have a lot of fucked up thoughts, man. I do. This is the most recent one I had. You ever drive down the street and see like 30 people up on a sidewalk and you just think, right? You don't do it, you just think it. That's what like separates the psychos from the functioning psychos, right? Psychos, they just think it, fuck it, they do it. They get the wipers going, they make a day out of it, right? But as a functioning psycho, not only do you not do it, you actually analyze it. Like, man, if I just leave my hand right here, nobody knows who I am. I move it 2 degrees over here, I'm on the cover of Newsweek. I am instantly famous, right? Right here, nobody knows me. Just a regular jackass like, hey, Bill, you want to come to the cookout? You know, maybe you could bring that potato salad. It was such a big hit last year. One of the most horrific scenes we've seen in years. Bodies just strewn about. You should really go there. Amy's gonna be there. You can strike up a conversation, maybe hook up with her. No indication he even tried to stop.
But like, I don't know about people watching, but I've had weird thoughts like that are definitely not me. And Jerry Marzinski talks about this too, where we are not our thoughts. It's the outside. It's an influence. He was a psychiatrist for paranoid schizophrenics in a maximum security prison for 35 years. And he said he started to realize that the hallucinations were real, the voices were real, they were demons. They were external entities that were controlling them or like manipulating them. To the point that the word demon is like, in computer programming, a daemon is D-A-E-M-O-N instead of D-E-M-O-N. A daemon is a background process. Like if you go task manager, these are all background processes. They're all daemons. That's what all this is. Right? That's what a daemon would be in real life. It's a background process. And I think the point of them is to trigger a response from you to do to like go against it, maybe. I don't know, to guide you down your path. Or to ruin you, to destroy you. Like, if you don't pass it, if you don't deal with it, then, or ignore it, whatever, then you're gonna go off your path. I don't know, it's I don't know, weird topic, but kind of off topic. But that's what happened with the PowerPoint thing. The other thing I want to talk about is censorships. The word censor and the word censor with an S and the word censor with a C are oddly similar if you think about it. What does a censor do with an S? It triggers when something happens. Usually like the light changes, the light frequency changes, or like a sound frequency changes, or vibration frequency, like any like change to the norm, it triggers a sensor. And I used to build programs for the U.S. Navy on where we would track like 100,000 different sensors at like 50 times a second and they were all like super specific things. Like sensor 1 out of 15 of the gauge temperature sensor for this piston in this engine on this ship. And then there was thousands of them. We would always be pulling in what they're sensing, what the sensor was sensing, whatever. But what is a sensor with a C? It like senses when certain words or phrases or ideas happen. It's almost like it's measuring when pressure. It's measuring high pressure, but it's like an etheric pressure. Because when people talk about certain words, certain phrases, certain ideas, the pressure is too high for the normal populace. That's its actual purpose. But I think the people that put it in there don't even realize that's the actual purpose. Kind of like how a ship in a relationship is a relationship. The woman is more like the ship. Man is the captain of the ship. The ship is infinitely, like, way more powerful. It's kind of like the subconscious. Subconscious is way more powerful than the conscious, but the conscious needs to pilot the ship. Those words and phrases are the ship being piloted, almost. By like I don't know. Somehow it's connected. But yeah, I was looking. Well, my point is, I was looking into all the words that are demonetized on YouTube, and I started going through them, but I didn't really have enough time. But I was like categorizing them. These are all the ones that were light yellow. Sometimes they would demonetize. Someone took each of these words. It's like every word in the dictionary plus a bunch of other ones, and he would make a video with that word, and that was 1 second long, and see if it was demonetized. And the ones that were dark yellow, they usually almost always got demonetized. The light yellow, sometimes. And I was gonna organize them all, different shit. Most of them have something to do with these topics. A bunch have to do with this. Whatever narrative they're doing that is degenerative. A lot have to do with this. But I ended up just focusing on what I found interesting, the ones that are odd. Why are they there? First one would be assessed. Why would that be demonetized? Assessed. I can't think of any reason. Right? Why is acid demonetized? Why would acid be? You know what I mean? Like, some of these words are just odd. Why they're demonetized? So I got them with a exclamation point. Activation. Why would that be demonetized? I don't know. We can go through all of them, but advised, admiration, admitted. You get all the obvious ones like this. Why is this demonetized? Why is Aiden demonetized? I'm actually reading the book where the main character's name is Aiden. Which is odd. These are all obvious. Actually, that's not obvious. This sounds like a sex thing. Obvious. Like, you can tell what they're. I mean, I don't know. Is it that obvious, or is it like? I don't know. The point of doing this was to, like, figure out why these topics were chosen. I mean, I kind of get it on a basic level. Like most people probably get it on a basic level why they're pushing this shit to degenerate society, to take over the country, new world order, all that crap. But I got the feeling that there's like an underlying reason for it that they don't even realize. Like the creator is working through them to do something. And I'm trying to pick up on that. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I did this part. And it kind of reminded me of the dream thing where there's rules. Maybe these rules are like the punching thing, where I thought that it was a rule that you couldn't punch or do violent acts in a dream. That was like a dream world rule. That's what I thought. Because every time I tried to fight someone, I would hit them, and it would feel like I was hitting a pillow or something. It would be a really soft hit. And we'd end up, like Giuseppe Filato says, if he was in karate still, the fight would go all night. That's what happened. That's what always happens with me. Used to always happen with me. With whenever I get in a fight in a dream. And the fight would last all night. And no one would really win. But once he learned that system or whatever, and he was confident in his abilities, the fight would end immediately. He hit the guy would be knocked out, or guy would be dead, because he was subconsciously fully confident in his abilities. I think perhaps the reason why these are rules is just like the dream world. Human consciousness is not fully confident in dealing with these words and narratives. So it's like a block for human consciousness currently. And we have to become more confident at handling these words. Most of them are actually, most of them are sex-based. But if you think about it, what is the most like prominent websites on the internet? It's porno sites, right? That has to be dealt with. Humans we haven't dealt with it yet. You know what I mean? Like we're not, that's why we're blocked. That's why it's blocked. We're not confident enough without it, I guess, right? That's kind of where I wanted to go with this. Kind of connecting dream world rules are really subconscious like subconscious hints to the dreamer that they need to get better at that in real life, consciously. Now, some of these are like, I don't think you need to get better at that, or that, or that, or that, whatever. But like, you need to get to a point where, why is that being searched? You know what I mean? That shouldn't even be searched. And I heard today, I was watching Dr. Longo with Robert, no, it wasn't Dr. Longo and some dude named Donut and One on One. And they were talking about how Longo was talking about how the word ass has been hijacked to being like the bad parts. When really in Norse theology, those letters A-S, S, I guess, is Asgard, or as king, ask king, ask the king. Like they were more honorable. I think that's the same with a lot of words we're not allowed to say, like the N word. I think that actually meant king or something like that. So that they hijacked it and made it mean what it means now, whatever. Same with the word slave. It really meant Slav, Eastern European. slave. And they turned that into the word slave. And when I say they, I mean the daemons that work in the background. It's not anyone consciously doing it. Same with the word the Huns. The Huns, I found 3 different references of the word Han, H-A-N, referring to someone who can do miracles, or a wizard. That's in Chinese. I found it in 2 fantasy books, and I found it in something else on Wikipedia and on a bunch of saints articles. H-A-N. So I think the Huns were actually people that could do miracles. That's why they're treated as like barbarians now. I think the Mongols, the same thing. It was supposedly it was the Tartarians. I found stuff in my comprehensive list of saints that it might actually been the Tatars. They were called the Golden Horde, and they would be trained in that martial art that Giuseppe Flauder does, system. So they would be like capable of handling thousands of people. I don't know. But yeah, some of the other interesting stuff I found: belief is sometimes banned. I don't know what that means. Boil, why would boil be sometimes banned? Connector, why is connector sometimes banned? Demonetized. Why is consistent sometimes demonetized? Contracts, sometimes. Contracts is actually kind of obvious. They don't want anyone to know about contracts. But cookbook, why is that sometimes demonetized? Right? There's a bunch of like interesting ones on this. Detective, deviant, destination. Why is destination demonetized? There's a bunch on here. I didn't get through all of them, but I think you can start piecing together what human consciousness has to deal with on a human subconsciousness. There's a human consciousness. I think there's a human subconsciousness, maybe, and that's just what the subconsciousness has to deal with right now. Just like how with the punching in a dream, my subconscious has to actually believe that I'm capable of winning for me to win in the dream. Right? Anyway, that's where I wanted to go with this